Yo, what's going down, Green Screen Entertainment fans? Your homie Jay Green coming in hot right now with a little John Wick franchise breakdown. You see, John Wick Chapter 4 is one of my most highly anticipated films of this here calendar year, and I am super excited when it comes out to bring y'all my thoughts, feelings, and opinions. So, because I am so excited, I thought it would be pretty fly to give y'all a little John Wick franchise breakdown for some of y'all out there who have no idea, and for those of y'all who somehow forgot. Now, for those of y'all out there who haven't been paying attention, Keanu Reeves has one of the most successful careers in all of Hollywood, and at the very same time, one of the most often forgotten careers in all of Hollywood. Now, if you're sitting somewhere right now in your mid-30s or so, then you probably were introduced to Keanu Reeves in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Point Break, Bram Stoker's Dracula, or Speed. And if you're lost somewhere right now in your mid-20s, then you probably met Keanu Reeves in The Matrix as an undercover cop in a not-too-distant future, working as a supernatural exorcist slash demonologist, or on the mean streets of LA. But you see, what Keanu has that not every actor in Hollywood with a hot and cold career can possess is likability and passion. You see, a lot of people in and out of Hollywood would probably say that Keanu Reeves is not really the best actor, but more so that his success is really based in his opportunity to be in roles that suit his talents and abilities, if you will. But to that I would say, isn't that pretty much what every actor in Hollywood is trying to do? So what's the difference? Now, I would submit to you that if Keanu is in a movie with good writing, great direction, and that movie, that story and all that fits his talents and his abilities as an actor, you would rarely question whether or not you actually believed him in those roles. And that right there is the definition of movie magic. With him, his likability and his passion and those things I just listed, it all works. And with that, we have John Wick. This is a world created and, based on the first 3 chapters thus far, fully realized by Chad Stahelski, David Leitch, and Derek Kolstad. Between Chad and David's legendary careers in stunt work and stunt coordination in Hollywood, Chad's extensive background in kickboxing and martial arts, Derek's world building and writing, combined with an actor who possesses the drive and the willingness to do damn near all of his own fight work and stunt work to entertain us, likened to a Tom Cruise, but with the unanimous likability of a Keanu Reeves. And when these powers come together, we end up getting blessed back in 2014 with a surprise action bonanza that was able to merge the evolution of action films over the decades, and not only that, but build on the promise of its premise over the next installments. Now, what I mean when I say the mergence of action films is that, to me, when I'm looking at the John Wick franchise, I see it as a throwback to films like Seven Samurai, Ghost Dog, Bloodsport, and even the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Back in the day when martial art and fighting type films actually had a strict code of conduct and a special type of world building and character development that really invested you into the hero and the big boss fight at the end. And movies like this had fight scenes that were so long and oftentimes very detailed and entertaining that as soon as you walked up out of that movie theater, you thought you was about to fight anyone for any reason, anywhere. And you could take them.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
This franchise takes hard-hitting, shoot-'em-up type action, larger-than-life, almost mythical and unstoppable hero types up against insurmountable odds from the Schwarzenegger, Stallone, and the Willis films of the 80s and the 90s, and is put together in a clean, crisp, stylized look like the films of today. And in my opinion, this really does make the John Wick franchise one of the greatest action franchises in all of film history, especially when you break it down in regards to style, approval, story, and dollars. Now, for those of y'all out there who may have forgot, here are the Jay Green Cliff Notes for the John Wick story. Chapter 1. John Wick gets out the assassin game, gets married to the love of his life, she dies. Some douche gets butthurt that John wouldn't sell him his car, and instead of hitting up TrueCar, Carvana, CarMax.com, this fake-ass gangster and his merry men break into John's crib, beat his ass down, kill his dog, and steal his whip. And John proceeds to kill everyone in retaliation. And when I say everyone, I don't mean just this guy and his homies. I'm talking about everyone! Chapter 2. Now, because of his return to the assassin world, an old coworker shows up at his doorstep asking him to do a job. We learn what the job is and what benefits are coming to this particular coworker if the job is done. We also learn at the same exact time that this dude that's asking him for this big ass favor is the same cat that helped John back in the day handle the task that he needed to do before he can get out of the assassin game in the first place. So having that knowledge all at the same time while he's being asked to come back into the assassin world when we know he don't want to do that adds a whole bunch more layers to the complexities of, one, his relationship with the assassin world, two, his relationship with this dude, and three, how much of a douchebag this guy really is for coming back into his life right now and asking him, knowing why he got back into the game, kind of, in the first damn place. And throughout the film, we're introduced to more of this assassin world from which John comes from. We're talking about rules, regulations, repercussions, and what is a marker. And by the end of this movie, all of these elements and things like that have basically set John on a logical and obvious path to be in a whole heap of trouble that he's gonna have to hopefully get out of in chapter 3. So we think. Chapter 3. So in chapter 3, it starts out with the entire assassin world being put on notice that John Wick in 1 hour will be excommunicado, and the clock is ticking.
Tick tock, Mr. Wick. Tick tock.
Now, after beating some dudes down, he swoops some sensitive items that are going to help him in his quest to reach the high table, aka assassin supervisors, and try to make amends. John ends up meeting up with Morticia Addams and Storm from X-Men. Storm ends up taking him to a guy in the middle of the desert who knows a guy who can get him to a guy who can then bring him to a dude who sits at the high table. However, during the meeting that John and Storm are having with this dude, this guy doesn't read the room when it comes to dog owners, and he tries to make Storm an offer to say, yo, I'm gonna help you out, but you gotta let me keep one of your dogs. When she refuses, he shoots that dog. Now, unbeknownst to him, this dog is wearing a bulletproof vest and packing. So let's just say that this guy quickly finds out that he made a huge mistake. Big fight breaks out. They end up escaping the battlefield with a few bumps and scrapes. They head into the desert. And Storm gives John some water for the rest of his journey to the high table. When he makes it to the high table, he's given an ultimatum. Die now or serve us until you die. In other words, at least you get to live and remember your wife. But there is a caveat to this deal. You see, if he wants it to go through, he's gonna have to end up killing his longtime friend, Winston. Now, I use the term friend lightly because let's not forget, this is the assassin world and friends are not easy to come by. But we've seen enough conversations and John's story to know that there are a particular level of loyalties and respect that he will bestow upon certain people, so let's just call those his friends. Now, side note, I'm pretty sure that some of y'all out there are probably wondering, Jay Green, what in the F did Winston do? Why does he got to go? Well, let me go back. In New York, right now, while John is on this journey trying to get to the high table and make amends, we got an adjudicator that is back in New York who is auditing and trying to clean up all of this mayhem and mess that John has been causing over the past couple of weeks. So anybody that was helping him out in New York along this journey of vengeance, if you will, they will be held accountable. And that's why Winston was named #1 as someone who needs to go. Back in New York, when John meets up with Winston, he decides not to kill him. Because of this, there's a huge gunfight along with some hand-to-hand combat all the way until dawn. In the early morning, John, Winston, and this adjudicator end up meeting up on one of the rooftop terrace areas, and the adjudicator tells Winston, look, if you want to prove your loyalty to us and keep your hotel, then you got to take John out. Winston turns the gun on John. Boom, pow, he's off of that roof, falls down into the alleyway to what you would think is his ultimate demise. But right before the credits start to roll, one of Lawrence Fishburne, the Bowery King's assassin groups, picks him up, brings him down into the tunnels and the sewers, if you will, where he stays, and he looks him dead in the face as John is all beaten, bloodied, shot, missing a finger, gone through hell, and he says, you know what? I'm mad too, John. Are you mad, John? What do you want to do about it? And they share a look at each other and you know it's about to go down. Now, in closing, one of my favorite things about this entire franchise thus far is the way that the story unfolds. From the very first movie until the end of chapter 3, we're following those original motivations that brought John back into this world. And as the films continue to progress, the motivations that are keeping that murder and that mayhem continuing never feel forced. It all makes narrative sense. And at the same time, the conversations and the dialogue between characters in this world flesh out this world, its rules, and the players that we should be paying attention to in a logical and natural way. So then that way, throughout all of these films rather, we are on board for every kick, punch, and headshot. With all that said, I'm so excited for this next chapter in the John Wick franchise. And if you weren't on board with this franchise as much as me, I hope my talking about it and my passion for it maybe swayed you just a little bit, enough to want to check out the original trilogy, if you will, and maybe even if you like those, check out the new one that's coming out. And if you are a fan like me, hit me up in that comment section below. Let's chop it up about some of your most favorite kills, moments, or details of this assassin world. Now, John Wick Chapter 4 is going to be coming out later on in March. You can expect a review from your homie, so do me a favor while I got you here, so you don't miss a thing, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, so that way you're ready to rock when the video goes up. Your homie, Jay Green, I'm out.